Eric Mangini, Fox Sports, is joining us now live. So, like yesterday, there was a report that the Dolphins had perhaps the most lopsided, ugly practice in league history. And Detroit Lion players were saying they don't even practice like us. This is for a culture that has been diplomatically a little loose since Mike McDaniel got there. What do I make of a story like that? Is it something? What do you make of Miami, an organization that's had some accountabilities and physicality shortcomings? What do you make of a practice like that?
Well, if I'm the head coach of the Dolphins, that's the last thing I want people saying about my practices, and especially in a situation where they've been accused of being soft and they've been accused of not being able to sustain things as the season goes on. And what do we know about Detroit? We know Detroit is tough. We know they're physical. We know they've dramatically changed the trajectory of the organization because of the mentality that they've had and the mentality of the head coach. So now that group goes down to Miami, and it's called the most lopsided practice in history, and the players are talking about how different their practices are. If you're the owner of the Dolphins, you're going, is this really what I want my organization to be known for? So not a great day for Mike McDaniel if that's what's coming out of there.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, owners watch and listen to that stuff. If you don't think they do, you're crazy. They absolutely listen. I also think anytime there's a report that you are what the previous criticism has been, that's always bad news, right? Like he would have been better off with a report being Miami is physical and out of control, but literally got into 9 fistfights with the Lions. That would be better for Mike McDaniel. It'd be against type.
It would be absolutely better for Mike McDaniel, because as an owner, now your friends at the country club or wherever are going to be saying, okay, you're letting this happen? This is ultimately, it's a reflection on him. And Steve Ross is an incredibly successful businessman, and I don't think anybody's ever going to accuse him of being soft, so I'm sure he doesn't want his team to be represented that way, and he doesn't want his friends to be giving him a hard time over golf about his soft football team that can't win late in the year.
So Jaxson Dart had 41 college starts with Lane Kiffin in the SEC. That's more than enough time to play. But there's a bigger thing than that. One thing we know to be true is that, Russell Wilson has not galvanized teammates. That's not an opinion. That's true. He and Pete Carroll, he and Sean Payton, Pittsburgh, wherever, that's not been his strength. So Jaxson Dart, good-looking, confident kid, comes in, chops it up. I mean, my take is you can't fool the players. Sometimes you can fool a coach, maybe. I don't think you can fool guys in the locker room. Could you get in trouble here if you play the quarterback with a rough schedule? Like, I think Jaxson Dart's an easy guy for an athlete to like. Good looking, good arm, moves well. I could see players buying into Jaxson Dart. What do you make of their quarterback situation?
Yeah, Jaxson Dart's had a really good training camp. I thought his first preseason game was outstanding. He made a range of throws along the sideline. There was one vertical, there was one corner out, so sort of that mid-level. He hit one short, he set up a screen, hit one over the middle, had the 2 really good scrambles, and at practice, he's extremely competitive as well, and it seems like he's definitely confident. I didn't feel like cockiness. I've made it out to a couple Giants practices and been able to watch him, and it does look like his teammates enjoy being around him, and he's developing that relationship. But I would say there's a 0% chance that he's going to start in the opener. I think the approach is go with Russell Wilson and his experience and the positive things that he brings to the table. And look, Russell hasn't had the best post-Seattle trajectory, but he does give a stabilizing influence to a young offense and to an offense that needs a stabilizing influence. I don't know if he'll be able to hold the job throughout the course of the season, but I would say there's 100% chance he's going to start the first games and probably the early part of the season at least.
So you coached in very loud media cities, New York and Cleveland. And Chicago, where I am now, is a very loud city. And they didn't start Caleb Williams last game. Now, Ben Johnson said he got 70 snaps at practice, but part of me was like, okay, it's a standalone game against the Dolphins. Dolphins are having their own issues. Let's just let the Dolphins steal the thunder this week on talk radio. And, I felt like it was a little more than just football. Do you think in the preseason that's true? I mean, did you ever say, you know what, this is a preseason game. It doesn't count in the record. I'm not going to play this guy, or for sure I'm going to play this guy. But I did think for a young quarterback that just needs live reps, it was weird to hold him out.
Yeah, I don't think so, Colin. I imagine what Ben Johnson wants to do is he wants his first game tape under his system to be as good as it can possibly be. So for them to take another week of him practicing within the system, of him learning the system, and then being able to come out in the second preseason game, play, and ideally put together some really good tape. So not only does it build Caleb's confidence, it builds the rest of the group's confidence. And they're going to do everything they can to script for success so that the team looks at this and says, okay, we're going in the right direction. This is going in the right direction. There's no soft openings like you have with a restaurant when the whole world's watching what you do and the way that guys are scrutinized. So for him to take another week before putting him out in the field, I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. You want it to look as good as you possibly can going into the season. So giving him another week to learn and to grow, to me, that makes a lot of sense.
So you were part of the Patriots dynasty, and even though they did 10 years where they didn't win a Super Bowl, you weren't there for all that, but they were still winning division championships. I think they got to 5 AFC championships. They were still winning their division 8 or 9 times in that 10-year stretch. And I've said with Kansas City, part of LeBron's dominance in the East is that the East was a mess. Part of Saban's dominance in the SEC is that Auburn, Tennessee, and Georgia couldn't get the coach right until Kirby Smart came around. And I said part of Brady's dominance is they moved the Colts out of that division, and the Dolphins and the Jets and Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo was dysfunctional for almost all of Brady's run. And that, I'm sorry, if you put Harbaugh and Herbert, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, I don't think you can win the division every year. And I think part of dynasties is the fact that New England basically got a home playoff game and a bye because they were 5-1 or 6-0 in their division every year, and you had to win 2 playoff games. My assertion is Kansas City will still be really good, but the days of going 35-5 against the AFC West are over. That's my take. Your thoughts?
Well, I would say that Kansas City has a chance to win the Super Bowl every single season. So as long as Mahomes is there, they've got a chance to win the Super Bowl. And then when you combine Mahomes with Andy, you combine Mahomes with Andy and Spagnuolo and Brett Veach, organizationally, they're different than all those other places because they've got so many reps built up. They're not chasing a ring. They can make good business decisions. They can make long-term business decisions where everybody else is trying to get to where they are. So they're always going to be in the hunt for the Super Bowl. Can they have the dominance that they've had in the division? It's gotten a lot harder. You've got 3 great coaches in that division now that you're going to have to compete against. From a quarterback perspective, you still have the most dominant quarterback, but all those guys have shown the capacity to win. It's different than what we were facing in New England during part of that run. I mean, the coaches came and went. This is definitely a different challenge for Kansas City now, just based on who they're lining up against week in and week out within the division.
Finally, you when you were coaching the Browns, I'm sure you heard sports radio at least once. It's kind of crazy town in Cleveland. Yeah. We had Tony Grossi on yesterday. He was fun. And now Shedeur plays Friday, and he plays well, and I'm sure it's all tempered and nuanced. So when and you live in Cleveland, so what do you make? I'm sure you thought he was pretty good, but what do you make of the reaction and sort of the circus around Shedeur, it's probably familiar territory for you.
Yeah, well, the second they drafted Shedeur in the 5th round, it was going to be that way, especially because they had drafted Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd. That made that heightened everything, drafting another quarterback ahead of Shedeur and then bringing Shedeur in. And then there's questions who made that decision. I know the owner says he wasn't involved, but I think he might have been a little bit involved. But either way, now you have this situation where everybody is tracking a 5th round draft pick and pressing for him to be the guy. Now, I will say that I thought Shedeur played really well. I thought he put a lot of good plays together. He put some good drives together. The start of the second half, where they had 2 false starts, he got sacked. They went 3 and out both times, so it was 6 plays for 4 yards. I thought that's what we were going to see at the beginning of the game, not at the beginning of the second half. But I'd say overall for him, it was as good as he could have hoped. And him being hurt's not the worst thing in the world going into this game. He can only benefit from this because for Dillon Gabriel or Kenny Pickett, they go in and play. This is going to be a much more game plan game. It's going to be a harder opponent. He's put the good tape already out there. Yeah. They've got to go out there and match that good tape, and he can sit back, not play, and actually bump up on the depth chart because of how they play without him ever having to go in the game this week and match what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's all worked out for the Browns and especially Shedeur. Eric Mangini, as always, Coach, great seeing you.
Great seeing you, Colin.